Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Houston Element Podcast. My name is Missy, and I'm your host. And today, I have the lovely pleasure to share the platform and the stage with a visitor, originally from Alabama, now New York resident, educator, inspiration personnel, okay, and owner of his own tutoring business called MB Tutoring. We have Mr. Michael MJ Bryant.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. The best introduction I've ever had. Thank you so much.
Thank you, because I have the memory of a goldfish and I've tried so hard.
Yes, you did so well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I'm so glad. And it's a pleasure to have you on the show, man.
Yes, I'm happy to be here. It feels so nice and warm. I wish I could have met you in person, which was the plan. But, things, we just have to go with what we can. And so I appreciate your flexibility.
Yes, sir, of course, and I appreciate your flexibility too, because I know you're here on work duty and making time for us, it's an honor.
Thank you so much.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yes, sure. So my name is Michael, but I go by MJ Bryant. So my name is Michael Bryant, but I was a middle school teacher in Brooklyn for about 5 years. And so after becoming a teacher and just falling even more in love with my skill and my craft, I decided to start MB Tutoring, which has now grown to, 12 American states and almost 300 students and 18 teachers, right? In just 3 years. And we're so fortunate to be alive and thriving and to be helping the community. Last year, we had our second anniversary scholarship gala, and we gave away $1,000 to 2 high school graduating seniors. So they're in school right now. They're doing their great, jobs in their first semesters of college. And so we've just been serving the community. We donated 30 laptops in 3 years to own. We're not, asking them to bring them back. And so we're just, serving our community and helping to promote literacy and education in all way possible, every way possible.
Well, congratulations on your 3-year anniversary. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
And, and congratulations on all your success so far. I mean, and you're doing your education program in person and remote sessions, online.
Yes.
So how did you start with MB Tutoring? When did it all come to fruition?
Yes, well, it came in 2020. So just before COVID, one of my favorite students at that time, he was expelled from school, but not on a disciplinary basis. His mom did not want him to have whatever necessary vaccinations kids are required. This is not a post-COVID thing. This is whatever was, the standard back then. And she just didn't want to comply with those regulations. And so the school had to, kick him out. And on the backside of that, she goes, Mr. Bryant, he loves your class. Could you please, just tutor him because we're going to homeschool him. And so I'm like, okay, I'll homeschool my favorite student, of course, and initially I was thinking, because he's not in school, all I have to do with him is what I do with my regular school kids because he's the same age, he just isn't in school. So it was just like a back pocket thing. It was in my working wheel, if you will. And so immediately within maybe the first 2 weeks, so many kids found out that, I was offering tutoring at the library. And then by week 3, we had about, 15 kids at the library after school from all different grades. And of course, it was a problem to my principal. She's like, oh, Mr. Bryant, no. And I'm like, no one ever told me, that I would be doing this. Like, this wasn't something I planned. And so she understood. But after COVID happened, we all were sent online, and the online demand was so high. Business grew by 240% in those first 3 months. And so first 5 months or so, because we started technically in February with MB Tutoring, and then by, was it April or May, school was all on e-learning by then. So once we got to e-learning, people were calling me left and right. And then I had put a Google ad. So I created a Google business ad. So now people are searching for tutors on Google, and they're calling me. And 2 plus 2 just did not equal 4 for me at that time. I did not know that, we're starting a business. This is going to be, a big deal. It didn't happen that way for me. I kind of was just in the right place at the right time, trying to help the community that needed the service.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic, man. So is it about education and particularly tutoring students that called to you? What made it a purpose for you?
Well, what I think my passion is to, this is a tangent, and I think you're a child of 2 educators, so good educators have tangents. And I think one thing I love is to kind of be the first person, or the first to do this, or the first to experience this. And even if it's not in my own life, it could be in your life, right? Like maybe I could be the first person that you interview that's, from Alabama and New York and visited Texas, but not in the studio. I just like to make memorable moments. And so as a teacher, the best memorable moments for me is when the lights, switch is up and the light, is on in the scholar's head, and they now see that, 3 times 5 is 15, and 15 divided by 5 is 3, and they can just run with it, and they're so excited and they're so enthusiastic. And so that's what I love about teaching. And so as a tutor, I get to have those moments more often, because I'm not teaching blanketed lesson plan. I'm teaching individual curriculum, individual materials that these kids need in real time. So everything just about I'm saying is oh my God, I didn't know that. Oh my God, this is so simple. And it kind of makes me feel like I'm a little, like I tell some of my students, I'm a genie in a bottle, because I can help you solve any of your academic problems, whatever it is, we're going to figure it out. And so that's kind of where I am with this job, and it's become second nature for me at this time.
I have a lot of respect for that, for educators of whether they're principals, teachers, tutors, things like that, because it really does, like you mentioned, take a real serious passion and love and wanting to see that look on their face. They're like, Eureka, I understand now.
Yes.
And
Yes.
It's going to make me cry a little bit, but I don't care.
Exactly.
But I respect that, because it takes a very special individual to be able to deliver that. It's one thing to know, but to be able to explain why this is an art form.
Yes. And it's not really easy, because a lot of times when, just amateur teachers or beginning teachers, it's really easy to just, give them the answer and just say, oh man, no, it's just 5 times 3. 5 times 3 is 15. It's so easy to give up, but you have to just, as a teacher, it's like you're just pulling out those different, those different alternatives. And you're just saying, okay, well, think about it this way, think about it that way. And you're trying to do whatever it is to make a connection with the scholar in that moment. And so it's very, 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 very dear to my heart, and I love it so much. And so I'm glad to be able to do this job for myself at that, right? With no one telling me, oh, you're spending too much time working on this poem, or you need to move on. No, we're educating the whole child, and we're teaching them strategies with material and information that they're interested in. We are not, talking about things that aren't really the kids aren't invested in. The best way to, a lot of times teachers of whole classes, they worry about, oh, the kids are not paying attention, they're not focused, they're talking. It's because they're bored. It's because they're bored. And so as a teacher, we have to get to that point where you realize, like, my end goal is to be a teacher, but I teach through entertainment. that is how I teach. I teach through entertainment. And so we'll talk more about that, I guess, in the upcoming, because, I can talk all day.
I love it. I love it. And I'm very eager to learn more about your approach. Yes. So first of all, let's talk about where you got your educational background. You originally got your first degree in University of Alabama, and you also got a degree from CUNY Brooklyn College. So what exactly did you study?
Yes. Now, I studied in undergrad at Alabama. Roll Tide, by the way. I know we're in Texas A&M country, or Texas, I don't know, University of Texas, whomever. Roll Tide, let's be very clear. But in undergrad, I studied political science and international studies. And then I wanted to be a college professor. And so that's where I was headed. And then I started at CUNY Brooklyn College. I got my master's degree in 1 year. I was so adamant about, completing my master's degree and being, this little 23-year-old with a master's and no plan, right? I forgot that I needed to do something after graduation. It was just like, oh, graduation, everything stops. I didn't realize that things were going to happen after that. And so after I graduated, I did some internships and things where I was working in the university setting, and I got an opportunity to teach a university political science course. 4 sections, by the way, 144 students. So it's a huge responsibility. And can you imagine grading 144 5 to 7-page papers, or just even short responsive? Exactly. It was a big deal. And I was only doing it at 23 years old. So my students were also the same age, if not older than I was. So that was a thing too. But around the time that I was lecturing political science, I was doing an internship for my final semester of graduate school. And the college professor there, he just kept telling me how amazing of a teacher I was going to be, and how I was, and how I took feedback so well. So I'll be honest, I was a little intimidated by the PhD process, right? And the application process. So I decided, well, I already have my master's degree. Maybe I don't need to go back to school. Maybe I can just go, and get a teacher certification for middle school. And so that's what I did, because I found out that it was, not very much different, although I wouldn't like to have gotten my PhD and work with adult learners, because I do think that is just also another skill to have. But being in middle school taught me so much. And like in New York City, if you can teach middle school, you can teach anything, right? You got hormones, you got, bullying, you got dating, you got, all kind of, coming of age situations with middle schoolers. So it has been an incredible journey, and I did not plan for it.
My goodness. And you taught middle school. Wow. See, my parents did elementary. One did elementary and one did, college. So
oh, wow.
I haven't heard anyone's perspective on middle school, which I'm very fascinated to hear. So can you tell us a little bit without, sharing too much private, of course, information about what was your experience like, particularly in middle school? Like any class stuck out to you?
Yeah, so middle school is a beast. It is a beast. And it's because these students are big enough to feel like they're adults, but small enough to still be treated like kids. And so maybe one day you can have this kid who's being just very, very, very brash and rude and aggressive. And then, you have to call his mom, and now he's crying. And it's like, but you were the same kid who, were being so rude and so mean, but now you're crying. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Or are you crying because I'm giving you extra homework? Are you kidding? And it's really like, as an adult in that space, you have to realize that they may be dishing this out, but they can't take it. They cannot take it. And so you always have to, when they go low, go high. Okay, Michelle Obama, you always have to go high, because they're always going to go low. And this is for New York City. This is the biggest school system in the country, and I think that the difference is, though, John Maxwell said that a leader is close enough to relate, yet far enough to motivate. Because I was this, youngster that got my master's degree, I came to, be a teacher by the time I think I was 25 or something. I still knew all of the popular songs. I still knew all of the dances. I still had a PlayStation. So I was able to get into those moments, into those spaces where not a lot of teachers can connect with kids. And I'm making sure, hey, have y'all got my homework? We playing Call of Duty. Is my homework done? Oh, what you said? Oh, but you need to log off. You know what I'm saying? And that expectation and being consistent work. And what I realized is that a middle school teacher, you have to be consistent. You cannot be, too much buddy or too much of the enforcer, but you have to be, yourself and be consistent with the rules at all times.
Yes.
For sure.
It's a fine line, between, making them feel comfortable and letting them know that you're still the instructor that's leading them their way.
Exactly.
Wonderful. And now with your program, MB Tutoring, you offer education all the way from kindergarten to 12th grade and GED programs, foreign language programs.
Yes.
Where do y'all get the time with these lesson plans? I want to know.
Well, the thing is that all of our lesson plans are individual, right? So whatever you come to us with, whatever you need us support with, is where we'll start with you, right? And so the lessons look different for everyone. And we have 18 teachers now, so I'm definitely not doing all the work. What I found is that I found incredible teachers who are already certified and who are already specialized. Some of them have, special education licenses. Some of them have university. We have 2 Ph.D. holders, doctors on our staff already. One of them was my actual English professor in college and undergrad. So she's now working for MB Tutoring also. But so we're hiring people who are already coming with their specialized skill set, and they are, meeting with students one-on-one. So each teacher may have about 4 students, which during the week, meeting with a kid twice a week, you're going to be able to identify the needs of that kid right away. And then making those lesson plans will be kind of like making bacon, egg, and cheese. You can do it in your sleep.
Oh my goodness. That's what I'm talking about, man, though,
Yes.
I myself, I'm not afraid to admit, I wasn't the greatest student. So, resources like yourself were very necessary,
Yeah. Yes, I understand. Yeah. And you know what? For me, they were too, because I struggled in elementary school. And by the time I got, to 4th grade, I did turn things around. But when I needed a tutor, when my brothers needed a tutor, my parents and I could not afford this, this service. And so I definitely am able to consider that when we get families that call us, and we're able to offer scholarships and flexible tuition payments and things, because at the end of the day, we want the scholar to benefit. And if that scholar benefits and grows up and remembers that we helped, them to achieve their goals, and they'll pay it forward to someone else, and that'll help, the fabric of the world to improve. And that's what we're after.
That's wonderful. So you and your staff are rigorously working constantly to try to make current and updates for all kinds of scholars and students so that they can achieve their goals.
Yes, because we make personal connections with them. In the time that the scholar and the tutor meets, it's only, the scholar and the tutor. And the tutor the scholar is able to say, look, Mr. Bryant, I don't know what is going on in my math class. And so we said, okay, well, send me the problems. Or maybe they've sent them before. And we work those problems one by one. And then we don't rush. And a lot of other tutoring companies like, Mathnasium or Kumon or some of the other big ones, they work with their lesson plans, right? Mm-hmm. They are in control of the content. So that means every 3rd grader who comes to them, they're going to start with, bad, had, sad, bad. They're going to do the same process. That's not how it works here. Education is not a one size fit all. It's not. We start with each person individually. So maybe you're a third grader, but you're really good at multiplication. We're not going to spend any time there. We're going to go right to division if that's what you need support with. And maybe you're an eighth grader and you need support with reading. I've seen it. We have eighth graders who wouldn't even know the word directions if it wasn't at the top of their page, right next, right below the name and the date. Right. So if you were to take some words that they're very familiar with out of the context of them seeing them, they wouldn't know them. And so instead of wasting time teaching things that aren't the highest lever, we work on the highest lever to get them the help they need right away. Because we guarantee results.
That's wonderful. And that's something that, I'm not going to say names or whatever, but, that I wish more institutions of education would offer, online, in person, whatever. Because like I said, I struggled as a student and I had to go and seek a whole nother school to get smaller, adapt learning for me. So I would have loved to known about you guys back when I was going to school.
Yeah, I know. We would have loved to help you too, because we like to get results and we like smiles.
Yes.
So for you to come in and say, "Oh, I'm just not doing my best," and for you to leave with that 97 or that 92 and that even 87, I don't know, whatever works for the family. It would just be really rewarding for us to see that we've actually helped to make, change someone's whole future. Because let's be clear, being a bad student can impact, it shouldn't, but it could impact your whole rest of your life, right? If you're not a good reader, how can you apply for a job? And maybe now you can, because there are a great, Siri can read to you and Amazon, Alexa can read to you. But, back when I was applying for jobs and back when I was doing things, it was all on paper. It was all handwritten. It was very, here it is. And I remember even in high school, and this is so funny, even in high school, they had one math question on the Burger King working, part-time job application. What's 12 times 12? That was the only question they had, for math. And if you didn't know your multiplication facts, even that one that's super familiar, it would just keep you out of things that are just so necessary to a stable life in this economy.
It's true. It's so true. And so, like we were saying before, you offer remote training and in-person training. So is there any kind of differences in creating the lesson plan or the structure or process when you're doing those kind of classes?
Yeah, for sure. So it depends on the scholar's age and, again, the scholar's needs. If the family calls us and say, hey, this scholar is a great reader, but they need help in math, that's what we work on. Now, we do have a uniform process when scholars enter. So let's say, for instance, the family tells us, oh, they're a great reader. We're not going to take their word for it, right? We're going to give them an assessment. We're going to see exactly where they are so that when we, collect our data, we can say, oh, well, on the 1st of January, she scored a 3 on this reading exam, and now she's at a 5, and it's only been 7 weeks. And that is the kind of things we need to do. So we do a kind of general grade-based assessment in the beginning, but it isn't anything that is very difficult or time consuming. It doesn't take a teacher really long to see what a scholar needs support with. If it's taking you more than 30 seconds to complete a multiplication problem or 15 seconds and you're looking at it, we know that you need to work on multiplication facts.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, this is kind of a little bit of a hot topic, but this is about the online platforms. So Some of the schools I know had multiple online platforms to put in their tests, their work, and things like that. So is your online platform user-friendly for all kind of scholars to use? So that way when you're conducting classes?
Absolutely. In fact, we don't even just require. We don't even just use the software on the computer. We also send workbooks and whiteboards as well. So let's say, for instance, if you're a first grader, who's not very computer savvy, all we need to do is just establish the connection, and after that, the scholar will be able to use the whiteboard and the computer screen from my end to complete the activity. So if we need them to write out math problems, they will have a little whiteboard. It'll be super clear. And that also helps with engagement because now the scholar, every student likes to write on the board, right? And so now they get a little board and they get to erase it and they get to, put this with their tutoring things. And so it makes them feel very important. It gives them a sense of this is serious and I can't waste too much time. And so we found out, we have a great little set of best practices that get us the results that we are having. And we're going to keep building them as we see, things as we see room for improvement.
That's wonderful. I like that you probably using your background in political science to understand the psychology of it all and really implement that to make sure these kind of things, getting the board, getting that engagement going is going to increase the success rate. I love that. Exactly.
And it stems from, long story, but I'm writing a book called Teach Like Beyonce. So when you talked earlier about, I would love to hear your approach on this and that. This is a shameless plug that one of my next upcoming books will be called Teach Like Beyonce. And it is not just a classroom teacher. You can teach someone how to be a podcast, an amazing podcaster. You can teach someone how to be an incredible drive-through worker. Whatever it is that you are teaching, you should be teaching it like Beyonce. And I found, taking some little things that Beyonce does or that Michael Jackson does or that, because they're all connected, and that's what goes back to when I said my objective is to teach, but my mode is through entertainment. And so when you come to my classroom, it is a full show. You get a chance to sing. You get a chance to come on stage and, explain why 3 times 5 is 15, So we're not singing and dancing, but we're working these, academic standards in the same enthusiasm, the same, energy, the same, love as we do a concert,
Excellent. I mean, I like to teach like Beyonce. I also like to look like Beyonce. My goodness,
Yes. Yes.
But 1 out of 2 is still good. 1 out of 2 is still good.
Okay. 1 out of 2 is still good, for sure.
Well, I look forward to that because I'd love to share some little bit of, coin of wealth, with audio production because it took me a minute to get to where I am. Can I get an amen?
Oh, yes, I can imagine because I've been watching your stuff and it's just so well produced. And I was imagining that I was like, oh my goodness, very, very, very well job done.
Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that. We're trying every time to give the guest a better and more professional experience.
Yes, you're there for sure.
Thank you. And so how do you end up managing and verifying and collecting all the different kind of certifications from your tutors and your employees? Like, because you work in various countries, various states with all different kinds of requirements.
Yes, that is true. And so how we manage our staff is by only hiring state certified teachers. So you have to be currently working at a school and teaching the subject you're tutoring, or you have to, have retired. So we do have one retired principal on our staff, but he retired over 25, years. So of course he can, tutor one-on-one privately elementary school math, right? And so everyone else other than me are full-time faculty members at a public school somewhere in the United States. I have Texas and North Carolina, Florida, Alabama, New York, and New Jersey for the teaching staff.
Wonderful. And so what do you do? What is the regulation example for your services that you offer overseas to other countries, for example?
Well, they want to be tutored and taught on our standard. So in their mind, they are imagining that this Western standard is, the holy grail. And so anything that we're doing, they are a sponge. And even teachers, I go there with teacher tricks and teacher tools, and they are like, oh, this is the best little candy corn I've ever had. They are eating it up because in other parts of the world, they are not, as you know, are not as they're not as, what am I trying to say? They're not as connected to resources as we are. They don't have as many resources. And so a lot of times being able to get those pedagogies and those things, directly from someone who's, doing it in real time is the best way for them to get it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I've always was curious about that. When I saw that you offered overseas students as well, I was like, wow, that's really fascinating.
Yes. And, and most of that stuff we do is also pro bono, right? So we do it for free. Back in 2020, I went to Brazil. No, it must have been 2021. 2021, I went to Brazil, and I found out that the schools in Brazil from COVID, they didn't go on e-learning. They just completely shut down altogether.
Oh, no.
Could you imagine, right? There, because it was COVID was not predicted, right? So we didn't have a chance to get them Wi-Fi and laptops and things. So their prime minister just shut down school completely. And so when I went there, it was a lot of time for me to just kind of work with kids privately and just, see where they are and just wish that I could do more. But, I wasn't able to do much more than just that.
Wow. That's horrible to hear. But,
Yeah.
But now that you guys have grown and you're extending even more resources that you already have, so now you have a better chance of helping as many scholars as you possibly can.
Yes, for sure. That's our goal. We want to get to 1,000 students a week. Right now, we're about 50. But we want to get to 1,000 students a week. And so that is our goal. And when we make it, I don't know, just somebody pick me up off the floor because I will really just be very, very, very grateful. And I just can't imagine how that's going to feel. But we're going to get there.
Well, if I can tell the listeners something, if you don't already know this, a good educator is like gold. Okay, more priceless than gold. All right. So if and I know tutoring you might think is expensive, but it's worth every penny. Isn't your future worth every penny?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay. So you need to talk to this man, all right? Because he's got the hookup. All right. He's got the goods.
I got the hookup. Thank you.
And so what kind of training and skill is required of your individual tutors? Like you said, they all have to be state certified, but is there any additional skills that are required, maybe like for students with special needs for education or learning disabilities, for example?
Well, not any additional for our one-on-one platform, because if we do have scholars, which we do, and let's be honest, most of the teachers now who are teaching in public schools are dealing with kids with learning disabilities every day anyway. When I was a teacher, there were several students in my general class with IEPs. And so we did have professional development and additional training. But I think the difference with MB Tutoring is because we're meeting with kids and families one-on-one, we're working directly with their IEP and we're working directly for the parents. So the parents, of a child with a learning disability, in most cases are very aware of the resources or the strategies or the tools that the school is implementing in order to, provide parity for their scholar. So for instance, if it's extra time on the test, then my tutor is going to know that, hey, don't demand that this scholar have an answer in 5 minutes. He has extra time. In 5 seconds, give him 15 seconds or just to be a little more generous with time. And then let's say, for instance, like I have a scholar with ADHD. His mom just sent me an incredible read from like not the Mayo Clinic, but something similar. And it was basically saying how, students with ADHD need to have a lot of more treats and just, deals and kind of like little rewards and surprises in order to help keep them focused because their mind cannot prioritize the stimuli, right? Should I be working on this assignment? Should I be, thinking about this toy, or should I be wiggling my feet? I don't know which one is most important. And so you continue to help him or her create that hierarchy with surprises, with rewards. Then they're able to normalize their procedures and their standard processes on their own. So for us, I think the biggest thing that my teachers need to do outside of what they've already done to be a state certified teacher is to know who you are teaching, right? You have to know your scholar. You have to know that if this kid is, slow to respond, it's the reason why. Or if this kid is a little upset or aggravated, it's the reason why. And so I think being able to, know who you're working with and know the community you're serving also plays a major part in the success that comes out of your relationship with them as a teacher.
I like that you said that, because it is a relationship from student to teacher, because this is your mentor. This is someone that's not trying to be your mom or your dad or your grandparents, but someone to give a stranger in the dark, trying to believe in you and give you a future. Trying to help you create this candle so you can light your way towards success. So I like that you said that. And so your website mentions like you traveled to various schools, like you mentioned earlier, all over the world, and observing different teaching methods. So can you tell us a little bit more about that experience?
Yes. Now I've been to about 40 countries, and not each of them have I gone, exclusively to work with kids. I only get to work with kids when I'm allowed to. There's a lot of different restrictions in international communities about, who's allowed to be in schools and, things like that. And so when I go to normally African countries, they do allow me to go inside the school and to visit and to observe teachers and to teach classes and proctor exams. And so I think it's been incredible. I think Ghana, West Africa, was one of the first schools that allowed me to, one of the first countries that allowed me to come into their classrooms. And it was just really different there to see the curriculum also was just very, very different. It was very, very different. And I think I think it was, important to see. And also just the relationship with, the assistant principals or deans or, principal, and how they handle student discipline was also just very, very, refreshing to see, and kind of just, because sometimes you can see something and say, I'm happy we're doing it our way, right? I'm happy this is not the way that we're doing it. Sometimes you can just see things and it helps refresh your belief in what you're already doing. And so, I think in a lot of ways, when I go out into schools in different places, I love so much of the things that I see. And then there are also things that, are pressing me to say, I can show you a way to do this and to get it done in less time or with less stress, or to make it a little easier on everybody. And so I think being a good human takes a bunch of recommendations and skills and best practices and just, I call them Bible verses, like little scriptures, things to do, best practices from everywhere. You have to take best practices from wherever you can get them. You have to learn from everywhere. That's the bottom line. You have to learn from everywhere. And so to be a great teacher, you also have to learn from everywhere. And that is the first step of Teach Like Beyonce. You have to study the greats, right? You have to identify those incredible teachers, whether in your building or online or in a workshop. You have to study to see what they did in order to achieve the success that they have. Just like Beyonce studied Michael Jackson and he studied James Brown and James Brown studied someone else. It's the same thing, just a different objective.
I love that. And that, again, revalidates your passion in this, that you literally travel to the corners of the earth to see, What are they doing? What can I do to do better? And applying it. Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
So another hot topic. So there have been many changes to the school system over the years. Okay. In your honest opinion, why do you think many of the students are needing additional help outside of the classroom?
Okay. Thank you for that question. Now, this is a hot topic. Oh, this is a hot topic. And I mean, this is a hot topic and this needs to go viral. And the reason is because it's two parts. On one part, the parents are expecting the teachers to do everything. And the parents are sending kids to school in kindergarten with no letter recognition skills, no letter sound skills. They don't know how to write their name. They don't even, recognize that it is their name, right? I have one scholar who just says, oh, that says my name. But you can't say that. You can't say Selena. You just says, that's my name. You can say that says Selena, And so it's just things like that automatically start kids out from the back of the race, right? So now they're already starting from behind because families are waiting to send them to school. And then at school, teachers are being told what to teach. So teachers are not being given an opportunity to say, oh my God, little Selena needs to work on how to make that S and how to make that M with two humps. Her superintendent, excuse me, her educational coach is saying, no, they should know that you have to teach 1 + 1 now. You have to teach, 1 + 2 now. And so what is the teacher to do? Is she to, do what she needs to do to keep her job and to support her family, which is to teach what the principal and everyone wants her to teach? Or is it that she teach little Selena how to write a M and an S when Selena should have learned that before she got here? It's kind of like everyone needs to step up to the plate, literally. And as a school, some schools, we also need to stop teaching things that aren't so very important. We really should, take a page out of Africa's book and teach things that are important. I have textbooks from Africa that literally are talking about things they don't even have, like Microsoft Word. You have teachers in Africa teaching kids how to use Microsoft Word without computers. Without computers.
I plead the fifth.
Exactly. But here, our kids have computers and can't even type. Cannot even use them. Cannot even use them other than TikTok and Instagram. But in Africa, they're teaching them how to use these tools and resources without having them even present. And so, and another thing about credit. As far as I know, Africa doesn't have the same credit system that we have. But when I was there, I'm hearing, lessons and reading books and things that are being, discussing things that is not even relevant to them right now, but they know that this is where the world is going. This is the information this generation needs to know, and not so much about, things that are less important.
It's like trying to tell, instead of Texas history here, it's like trying to teach us who built Big Ben, the clock tower, and why it's important.
Right.
It's fascinating, but when am I going to use that today?
Right. Wow. Never.
Well, I appreciate your answer.
But had you maybe learned about, car financing instead of that Big Ben, clock, then maybe we would be somewhere. Maybe we would have a car lot by now,
help me help you.
Right. Exactly.
I appreciate that. And I hope more people pay attention. And if y'all watching this on YouTube later, rewind and take notes.
Yes. Good students take notes, okay? Take them.
Like Mr. Bryant said earlier, engagement, okay?
Period. Yes.
So based on your experience, what subjects would you say is most common that students and scholars need assistance with?
Reading.
Really? Yeah.
And multiplication facts. I mean, reading and math in general, reading and math in general, I think they're, the two heads of the same beast, but kids can accommodate themselves easier in math. It's a lot easier to, to wiggle your toes and count your fingers. But if you don't know how to read, recommendation is going to sound like no clue.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
And, you also do the GED program as well, so I'm sure that you have some that are maybe over 18 as well. And as adults, we have this pride now, when we're adolescents, sure, we had our, teenage, adolescence, so to speak. But as adults, we might feel a little embarrassed to say, well, I can't read, or my math is not where it needs to be. Have you ever had students like that, in particular, like your GED program, who are just like, Mr. Bryant, I'm kind of ashamed, but I need this help?
Yes. We even have parents who are struggling, who aren't getting a GED, but are struggling with, supporting their scholars with their homework because they don't understand it. And, because they, and a lot of times most adults can identify words, but they can't read. So they know that this says recommend. They know that this says, benefits, because they see these words often, kind of like kids. But you just have to, I think about it all the time as be furniture. I'm not here to add in how I feel, to talk about anything. We're here and we're just going to do this class. If the scholar is an adult and this scholar is messing up on these words, I'm furniture. I'm just saying, oh no, try that one more time. Oh, this one is REC. How does that sound? And, we're just keeping it very professional and letting them know that they're not alone. I think the biggest thing for me is to girl, I was working with, and I tell a lot of lies as a teacher and it sucks. But, I'll tell her, oh, girl, I had another student last week and she was struggling with this word and that word. So at least you got a little bit ahead of them, this time. You want to make everyone, because you got to feel it in order to do it. You have to believe it. Passion wins, and you have to be passionate about what you're working on and believe that you can get it done. And so my job is just to help you believe that you can do it, because you can.
Trust, okay? The proof is in the pudding.
It's in the pudding.
Okay. I love that approach. I haven't heard that metaphor before, though, but I really like that. And again, patience and passion.
Period.
Wonderful. And so you published a book called I Am, which talks about a sixth grader. There it is. Which talks about a sixth grader going through their own educational experience. Can you tell us a little more about that book, please?
Absolutely. So this book, it seems to have been derived from my life, but that's not the true story. The true story is that it was a student from MB Tutoring. I was in Ireland. And so one of my MB Tutoring teachers calls me while I'm in Ireland. And while I'm on vacation in other countries, I still work, right? So if it's, 5 p.m. in Ireland, but it's 11, 30 in New York, I'm working in New York. Period. And so one of my teachers called me. He says, oh, Mr. B, I need to cancel my class. And I'm like, oh, you need to cancel because we like to be the Chick-fil-A. We like to be the Apple of tutoring. We want to, be the standard. Right. So we don't like to cancel. And he goes, oh, I need to cancel. It's an emergency. There was a situation at school. I'm going to be late. So I was pretty much done for the day already. And so I said, well, I've never met your scholar before, because a lot of the families that work that are being serviced by MB Tutoring, they don't directly, work with me. I don't tutor their kid, I don't, check in with them. So a lot of the families I really don't know. I've never met in person, anything like that. So I go to his class and I meet his scholar, and it was, it was a class, it was a class. She was not confident. She says, oh, the only reason my grades are getting better is because, Mr. Clark helps me with my homework and I don't remember anything he tells me. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Are you kidding? And so I immediately, I start asking her little questions like, girl, are you smart? And she's like, no. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, say you are, say I am smart. And she's like, I am smart. And I'm like, say I am a winner. I am a winner. And it was just very much like, I am smart. It was very not enthusiastic. And then as we kept practicing little problems and as we kept, getting, because another thing is you have to celebrate the wins. Even if it's a small win, in our tutor session, we're going to turn up when you get that win, because that momentum is what it helps you keep going. And it also invests you to see that I can do this. And so I just continue to tell her, I am a winner. I am smart. I am pretty, all of these things. And I didn't think anything of it, right? I didn't think anything of it. The end of the day, her mom sent me a video of the girl in the mirror, like, I am pretty, I am smart. And this was hours after tutoring ended. And so I said, wow, her mom, everyone, me, all of us, we were teary-eyed because we did not know, like, I didn't know that would make a difference. I didn't know that would really make a difference. And so one day, because my teachers are all online, some of them, maybe 70% of us live in New York City, but we do have, Texas and North Carolina, Florida, other places. So the New York teachers, we took them to a happy hour. MB Tutoring sponsored the whole brunch, paid for the food and the drinks. And while we were there, we had a great time just talking about some of our favorite students and some of our favorite families and all of this stuff. And I left that happy hour or that Saturday morning brunch, and I wrote this book in one sitting. Literally. I just pressed it out, and then I sent it to this self-publishing company who they can handle everything else. So if you send them a manuscript, they can find illustrators, they can do everything else. And so I had been already working on Teach Like Beyonce and other books. Middle School Sucks. I'm writing another book called Middle School Sucks. So I've been working on other things, but the impetus came when I realized how big of a difference, just this little small nuance can make of you thinking differently of yourself. And so I wrote it in maybe 2 hours and sent it out. And I will tell you the truth, every time I read it, I cry. So I'm going to send you a copy, get you one, and, let you read it for sure. It's also on Amazon, and it's only $10 on my website. That comes with the free autograph included. If they, whoever's listening wants to get it from my website instead of Amazon. But it's also on Amazon. And I do think it's a great story, not because I wrote it, but because scholars need to know that if no one else believes in you, you believe in you. And that's enough. That's enough.
Rewind and hit play. Okay.
If nobody else believes in you, you believe in you. Okay? That's enough.
Make it your ringtone. Make it your wallpaper. Whatever gets the boat there, baby.
Yes.
And we're going to put in the bottom in the description information where you can buy this book. Okay? So Don't miss out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So my final question I ask is that you're currently here, you're visiting in Texas, you're working, and you've also had some been doing working with teachers here since 2020.
Yes.
So how has your experience been with the Texas education so far?
Well, I think it's been fine. We have some students that are also from Houston. And so I think the students from Texas, they're all super sharp. My teacher from Texas, she isn't from Houston. She's from Corpus Christi. So I won't get to meet her. And she's been working for MB Tutoring since 2020, but I've never met her in person. And now, this is my first time in Texas since then, and I still won't get to see her but she does a great job. And I hope she gets to hear this. And I know she will because I'll send it to her. But she does a great job, Miss Ramos. And she works at a high school in Corpus Christi. And she is a fantastic tutor. Kids love her all the way in New York, all the way in North Carolina. She has, a big group of kids across the country that can say, I have a tutor from Corpus Christi, Texas, and she's amazing.
I love that. Yes, and shout out to Corpus Christi. Okay, I'm representing you guys. We got Selena.
Exactly.
Okay, you know what I'm saying? All right. Yeah. Corpus Christi, Houston, Brooklyn, New York, Alabama, everybody, wherever you're listening and you need education, this is the guy. He's got the goods. Okay?
Yes.
All right, So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It has been even more of a pleasure than I thought it would be. I cannot believe how amazing you made this, feel for me, just like we're talking right here with, no one else. And so I appreciate you so much. Keep on doing what you're doing. I know whatever your dreams are, they will come to fruition. They're on the way. Just don't get tired.
I can't promise that, but I got coffee, so
okay. Well, that helps. That's an accommodation. So that's what that gets you to the end goal.
Yes. Thank you, and I appreciate your kind words, and I'm so glad that you had a good experience, man. And it's always a pleasure to speak to somebody from education and to get a fresh perspective.
Yes, thank you. And tell your parents thank you too, because, with their service, I'm here and I can read and I can write. And, so many kids that look like us are helped, were taught by your parents as well, generations, I'm sure. So thank you for their service as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. I'm going to say it. Educators, people in education in general, do not get the respect that they rightfully deserve, do not get the credit they rightfully deserve. I mean, you don't need to be a millionaire to be rich. You don't need to be Shaquille O'Neal to be tall and great. Right. You know what I'm saying? But it would be nice just once in a while for someone to say thank you. Thank you for all you've done. I wouldn't be here without you.
Yeah, for sure.
I would still be walking around with one shoe if it wasn't because of you.
Exactly.
So do you have any last little bit of advice for the listeners?
No, I think keep listening. That's all. You have to keep listening because this podcast is the podcast. Okay. We need to make this podcast number one, and not just in Texas, but in the United States, in the world, because these stories are important. These connections and these moments are real. And, we have everyday people who are making big changes in our community. And because you're doing such a great job at highlighting them, we have to help promote you and get you to the point where you're on prime time and you're being, even more of a supporter to our communities and our countries. So thank you. My only recommendation to everyone listening is to keep listening.
Thank you very much for the kind words. I mean, I'm glad that my camera isn't that good and my left eye is crooked because y'all would see me crying right now, but it's all good.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. The right one's open. Okay. Yeah. All right. 1 out of 2 ain't bad. Well, you heard it from the man yourself. Okay. Keep listening, keep striving, and be proud of yourself.
Yes.
Because you're doing it, man.
Yeah.
All right.
You've beat every test that you've had so far. That's why you're still here.
Trust, okay? And I suck at taking tests, y'all, and I'm still here. So
yes.
Can I shout out for my poor test takers, okay? All right, shine a light, okay? If we can do it, you can do it.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening this week, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.